What is up, everybody? And I know I am more than likely late to this party, but I was thinking about something while I was at work today doing nothing. There was a period of time today where I just sat around and did nothing because I was waiting for something to happen. But anyway, something was on my mind, and I've been thinking about it for a while, and part of it has to do with the dreaded, I guess you want to call it Parity Gate, or maybe it's just parody. I don't know. Maybe I'm just calling it Parity Gate. But anyway, yeah, parody. Oh boy, parody. Apparently, parody is something that has been derived from Ubisoft wanting to basically, quote unquote, avoid debates by basically making their games that are on the consoles, basically making them have the same specs. Meaning, as opposed to one being superior over the other in terms of resolution and frame rate, Ubisoft is going to hold one of the versions back to make it equal to the other version. Case in point, Assassin's Creed Unity, which is a game I've been looking forward to ever since I first laid eyes on it. And as most of you know, I am a big Assassin's Creed fan. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. I love pretty much all of the Assassin's Creed games, with the exception of the first game. I think the first game's trash. But every other game after that, I've really enjoyed. So, whether I'm a fanboy or not, or just a hardcore fan, you take that for what you will. But I've been looking forward to Unity for quite a while. And then I read about Parity that they're going to hold the PlayStation 4 version of Unity back to match the Xbox One because they want to, I guess, avoid debates. And honestly, that pisses me off. That pisses me off because, number one, that means a newer game is going to look worse than the previous entry because I'm sure, as most of you know, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag that came out just about a year ago is 1080p on PlayStation 4. Now, it wasn't 1080p when it launched, despite the fact that the back of the box says 1080p. It was not. They had to make a patch for it. But I don't know how many of you have played that game, but that game is drop dead gorgeous. It is, for lack of better terms, it's sexy. It is sexy. And I mean, there's just the water graphics, the sea turtles walking on the sand, the pirate ships, just everything about it is gorgeous. And it really amazed me how great it looked, because this was my introduction to the new generation of consoles. And to think that the newest Assassin's Creed game is now going to be held back because of the Xbox One version, and it's not going to look as good as Black Flag, that kind of pisses me off a little bit. It really does. Because I don't remember developers holding back Super Nintendo games because the Genesis, and maybe a lot of people, you guys don't know this, but aside from processor speed, the Sega Genesis was inferior to the Super Nintendo in every aspect. Like I said, except for processor speed, which honestly I didn't really notice that much of a difference anyway. I guess except for Sonic. Excuse me. So I don't remember developers back then saying, oh, we're going to hold back the Super Nintendo version of this game to have it match the Sega Genesis version so people won't argue. Now, I know the internet was extremely in its infancy at the time, but I'm sure some of you can relate to this, is that there was arguments all the time over the Sega Genesis versus Nintendo on school buses and at school, at playgrounds, etc., etc., you name it. It's not as vicious as today's console debates, but that's beside the point. But developers didn't do that back then. They brought out the best they could in games on the Super Nintendo, and they did the same thing on the Sega Genesis. And then they left it at that. I don't remember Sega Genesis fans basically feeling like, oh, I bought the wrong console because it's not as good as that version. Because I remember people enjoying the Sega Genesis, just as I remember people enjoying the Super Nintendo. And I don't remember them actually getting pissed off because they chose the wrong console because of little technical aspects. Because, see, here's the thing. It's been known since day one that PlayStation 4 is, even if it's just slightly, it's still technically superior in a lot of ways to the Xbox One. If that was a main concern for a lot of people, they would have already chosen the PlayStation 4 over the Xbox One, yet some people still chose the Xbox One. Meaning that they don't care, or at least I'm assuming that they don't care that, and I'm going to use Assassin's Creed 4 as an example since the main topic of parity is Unity. I'm going to keep using Assassin's Creed 4 as an example. They don't care that Assassin's Creed 4 isn't 1080p on the Xbox One. They still bought the game, and they still loved the game. I'm assuming that really wasn't a big deal to them. So I don't understand Ubisoft's line of thinking here that this was going to stop debates. Actually, what this has done has pissed off people, myself included, and it's actually caused more debating. Ironically, it's caused more debating. And so, yeah, I don't understand why they're doing this, and I'm assuming this is going to extend to other Ubisoft games. I hope it doesn't. I think it's going to. And God forbid, I hope other developers don't follow suit with this. Because honestly, you're not doing gamers any service. You're not doing the industry any service. You should just do the best you can on each platform. Make the game as best as it can be on PlayStation 4. Make the game as best as it can be on Xbox One. Because by doing that, you're doing those gamers a service. And that's really, at the end of the day, what it should be about. It should be about providing us gamers with the best service that you possibly can. So yeah, this parity thing is really stupid. I hope it doesn't catch on. I really don't. I'm still going to buy Unity, and I'm probably still going to enjoy it, but it's kind of disappointing to see how this is all playing out. But honestly, today at work, I was thinking about something. And I apologize if that was too long of a lead-in, but I was thinking about something. I was thinking about the actual potential of the Xbox One, and if it's ever really going to be brought out. And I've been thinking about this since last spring, because my philosophy back then, earlier this year, was that developers aren't really bringing out the best of the Xbox One right now because I'm assuming it's hard to work with, hard to program with. But once they figure it out, just give them time, and you're going to see the Xbox One match the PlayStation 4 version. Even if it's just behind a little bit, at least it's a lot closer than a big gap. I hope that makes sense. And honestly, at this point, and we're almost coming up to a year that these consoles have been out. And with this parity situation, is this really going to entice developers to want to bring the best out of the Xbox One when they could just do the bare minimum because they have no reason to bring it out because, oh, the PlayStation 4 version is basically going to be on par with it. So instead of actually trying to match the PlayStation 4, we're just going to do what we can because the PlayStation 4 version is going to be held back and be basically on the same level. And honestly, maybe I'm jumping the gun here because honestly, the PlayStation 3 kind of went through the same problem because when it first came out, multiplats on that game were completely inferior to the 360 versions of the multiplat games, and it took them a few years for the PlayStation 3 versions of the game to basically match the 360 versions. So, in a way, maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit. You let me know if you think I am. The reason I don't think I am is because this is 2014. Technology has advanced. I would hope developers are smarter now than they were back then. So I would think it wouldn't take as long in a situation like this. Because I'm assuming the architecture of the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 isn't exactly brand new and they've had no experience with it. I could be wrong. Let me know if I am. So I would think it... I honestly thought within a year, the Xbox One would be close to matching the PlayStation 4 versions. At least with some games. And with this whole parity situation, I'm starting to wonder if it's never going to if that's never going to happen. I'm starting to wonder if they came up with parity because maybe they know it's never going to happen for whatever reason. And honestly, that's kind of disappointing because I don't want to see the PlayStation 4 versions of a lot of games get held back and they won't perform as good as it could just to please the developers for Xbox One. Sorry if I stumbled there a little bit. It's just not had the best day, so hopefully you're getting what I'm saying. I just would hate I would hate to see that happen because I want to see the best possible games be developed for each system, even if the other system isn't as strong as the other one. I want to see the best. I want to see them do the best they can with each system, and hopefully over time, maybe they will unleash the potential of the Xbox One because I think you can eventually get 1080p 60 frames per second with the Xbox One over time. That's my prediction because I think I think Forza 5 didn't that get 1080p? I think it did. But then again, that's an exclusive, so maybe that's not the best comparison, but I would like to see that happen, and I just think with parity, I'm starting to wonder if that's never going to happen. That's really, really disappointing. So, alright, that's about it. Let me know if you think that the potential of the Xbox One will ever be realized, and let me know what you think about parity. I think it sucks. I really do. So, alright, that's about it. I will catch you all later.